Hello, welcome. This is Solopreneur Success Strategies today, and this is Jane Gardner, and today it's World Domination Wednesday. Boom, who is your customer? But for now, let's call it World Domination Wednesday. Welcome. It's Jane Gardner, and it's World Domination Wednesday today. Let's just briefly say who I am before we decide to listen to me. I'm Jane Gardner, and I work with my husband in our engineering firm for the last 20 years in our home office, in our home in Western Canada, where we have dogs and cats, and I'm an artist, and we travel. And we have the trials and tribulations and the freedom of being solopreneurs for the last 20 years, and we're looking forward to retirement. So I came out on the internet about 3 years ago to learn about some of the tools and technology of the internet, as well as I want to help others to have their own home business. And now, of course, you can have an internet business in this world. So today, we've been discussing who is your customer, because we've had a lot of dealings with customers, so we have some experience. So today's training is who is your customer? And let's go into it right away, shall we? We might as well. So on World Domination Wednesday, the reason I called it World Domination is, of course, your business is your world. And you want to be able to dominate your world. And in order to do that, you need to have the customers love you and come to you and stay with you. So, excuse me, it's all about you and your customers. So it's knowing how to define what your customer wants, give your customers what they want, keep those customers, and keep growing your business with more customers by having your customers, of course, being your raving fans. It's one of the best forms of referral marketing is your customers. So you have to keep your customers happy. So we also talk later about customer service and what are some of the policies that you should have in place. But today, first of all, you have to find out who are your customers, right? So let's have a look. So you want to be able to dominate your world in your business. And last week, we looked at who are your customers. And of course, according to Seth Godin, a very intelligent marketer, everyone is not your customer. Your customers are those who want your solution to their problems. Just your solution, nobody else's. And also they want your solution maybe to fulfill their desire, depending on what your solution is. Now, there's 3.3 billion internet users online today, so there's plenty of customers out there available for you. So let's find out who is your customer. Well, last week we talked about understanding your market trends, of course, is always important in your market to know what is successful and what isn't. So you're keeping that up. But you also have to know your customers on an individual level, because in the end, it's the customer who decides whether or not they're going to purchase your product or service. So you need to use every opportunity available to understand your existing or potential customers. So the first step last week was to talk about your product or service and who does it serve. So looking at your business and your product or service, what are the features of your product or service? And what is the benefit of that feature? And who really wants that benefit as a solution to their problem? And I've capitalized really wants because we're looking at your ideal customer who will buy from you again and again. So, you can have a variety of customers, and you certainly will, but these are the ones who really want your product. So we use the example of wrinkle cream last week, and we added an imaginary feature of it had aloe cream. So the benefit for that, of course, is that it keeps wrinkles away. You don't have any wrinkles. The feature of it was going to be monthly delivery. So every month you would get it in the mail. So the benefit would be saving time for the new customer. And there was also a feature of a 30-day trial. So the benefit of that feature is that, of course, it's refundable if it doesn't work. So that sort of is some social proof that you're confident that it will work. And the feature that it will stay on for 24 hours. So you put it on in the morning and it will work all day. So the benefit to that, of course, is that you can use it once a day. So who would really want that? What is the demographics of that audience? And what is the geographic of that audience? And what is the psychographics of that audience? So, of course, we'll talk about that in a minute. But, for example, a woman, 45 to 65, professional, busy corporate woman who doesn't have time to put on wrinkle cream every 3 hours, and it can just do it once a day, who's concerned about aging and her appearance for a business, and who has a salary of $100,000 or more, can certainly afford your $30 a month subscription wrinkle cream. Just briefly, obviously these are this is just as example, and well, in another time we'll actually looking at the demographics of a sample business. So what are the geographics of your ideal audience? So would you find your ideal customer in the urban versus the rural, the US versus Canada? You can even get it down into certain towns, for example. We all know about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Orange County or whatever it is. Sorry. So we know that they would certainly need wrinkle cream. Sorry. But what are versus someone who works in Minnesota, would they need the wrinkle cream? So what are the geographics of your ideal audience? So you could actually look at that, and there are ways to look at it in your various research. So you look at your demographics, the age, gender, profession, salary, etc., and the geographics of your ideal audience. And then you also look at the psychographics, which didn't show up on my last slide. So anyway, I made it small because we don't need to look at it today, but I just wanted to read it a bit for you about the 10 components of psychographics. This is all about the person inside, what their interests are. So if your prospect's interests help you, probably help you create the right marketing message for them. If you knew what their interests are, what their hobbies are, if you knew what their opinions are on things, maybe what political beliefs they have, and what the other beliefs about money and happiness and success they have, if you know the values of your audience, what their preferences are for doing certain things, and what the goals do they have, what do they want to achieve? Are they a bargain hunter looking for the best price? Are they oriented towards brand recognition? Their attitudes, see if they have an attitude that's positive or negative towards people, events, activities, or ideas. Maybe like me, they're grew up during the 1970s, where it was considered groundbreaking to not use makeup, so they won't ever use makeup. For example, their purchasing motives, are they motivated by fear of loss or pride or prestige? Do they want to be like others? Do they follow movie stars? Do they want to save money, or do they want to avoid pain, or do they want to feel comforted and connected to others? Or are they into prestige? Very important prestige, I must admit, in terms of whether they're willing to buy something for $30 a month. And their personal characteristics, it's kind of difficult to measure, but it can play a role in creating your customer's profile. As well, that would also be their health, their body image, whether they hang out in certain social media. I think you can find out a bit about their person. My life? I lost it. So we're back? Okay. We have to go over that again. So anyway, psychographics is about looking at the personality of your potential ideal customer. And you can do this in quite a few places. So don't worry, you don't have to be a psychic in order to figure out the psychographics. You can look at the interests of your potential prospects and help you, what might help you create the right marketing message. You can look at their opinions, their beliefs. What do they believe about money and happiness? What is their values concerning appropriate outcomes? Their goals, what do they want to achieve? For example, are they a bargain hunter, or are they looking for brand recognition in terms of the work? You want to look at their attitudes, positive or negative, of people, events, activities, or ideas. Their purchasing motives, for example, are they motivated by fear of loss, fear of pride, or prestige? So this would be the fear of wrinkles and aging. Or do they want to save money and avoid pain and feel comforted and connected? And then look at the personal characteristics, but personality can be difficult to measure. And activities, what do these prospects do? What are their hobbies? I mean, if they're out in the sun skiing and swimming, they may be, depending on where they live, worried about wrinkles, but in other times when they're young, they don't worry about wrinkles. What are their hobbies? What are their traveling habits, working habits, and so on? And also, not mentioned, of course, usually is the social class. Social class. Where does your customer prospect fall on the socioeconomic scale? Are they professional or a manual worker? Are they college educated? Is in demographics, but basically sometimes it can affect how you feel about yourself, whether depending on how much education you have. So basically, then you can do research, and next week we'll look at the media that you can research to see who your perfect customer profile is. But we went over how demographics, your age, where they live, the gender, income, education, and profession will affect who your customer is. We had a quick look at psychographics, the personality, attitude and values and hobbies, and what they feel about life. And then next week we'll look at the media, the magazines, TV, movies, websites, social media, government research, white papers that you can research in order to find out more about your potential client might be, your ideal customer. And there's even research out there on purchasing behavior, especially from Google and Google Trends, etc. On the internet, there's a lot more research that we'll look at next week, or maybe the week after, depending how much time we have. So the purchasing behavior, when do they buy? What is their strategy? What are they looking for? And what are they using currently? So there's a lot of research that you can do in order to make a customer profile. And next week, we'll be looking at some of the research that you can do for free on the internet and everywhere else to find out about your ideal customer. So I do have a course offering on defining your ideal customer, where we can do this quicker. So we look at your business and how does it solve your ideal customer need or problem. We look at how to define your ideal customer profile by looking at the demographics, geographics, and psychographics and the research sources for a week. And then we look at how to use your research to craft your messages for your ideal audience. And then the week after that, how to use the tracking tools to measure the success of your messages once you've developed some messages to attract your ideal customer. So if you are interested in that course, you can go to jgtips.com/customer profile to have a look at the information on that. And I think that will certainly be something that will make it quicker for you to define your ideal customer that will be attracted to your business. So other than losing my signal during the show and coughing a couple of times, I think I've managed this week to talk to you about your ideal customer profile and how you can start looking at demographics, geographics, and psychographics in order to look at your customer profile. And next week, we will be looking at your customer and how you can research who might be your customer. And there's a really quite a good variety of places that you can do it, especially in social media platforms. So please subscribe at jane-gardner.com/SSS. You can go to my website there and add your name in order to get notified about when the next class is, as well as all the other classes. It will show you give one email probably a week showing what the topic will be on each day. Mindset Monday, Get Your Message Out Tuesday, World Domination Wednesday, Jack or Jill of All Trades Training Thursday, and Freebie Fridays. So thank you for listening. Bye.